Birch Family Services would like to welcome you to their latest edition, their newest group home in Brooklyn. Birch is an agency that's been in operation for 35 years that provides daycare and residential care to folks with developmental disabilities. Birch opened up our first group home, that was in 1979, and we've developed 8 since. This house being the most recent addition to our continuum of services.
A lot of people think of a group of 5 men with autism living together. They picture more of probably an educational environment, and it's not. And it's so important to remember that this is their primary residence, and it should feel like a primary residence.
I'm Benjamin Bradley from Bradley Thiergartner Interiors.
And I'm David Thiergartner from Bradley Thiergartner Interiors.
Before we even found this project, Ben and David were already volunteering their services to Birch.
A friend of mine who was an employee of Birch discussed with me a new residence that was coming online for Birch. This was a real opportunity to sort of do a hands-on project, to actually work and create a home for people who not always have the opportunity to live in a beautiful home.
They asked me to come in and give some feedback with Ben and David, the designers, on any accommodations that might need to be made so the men can live more independently and be more successful in the house.
One of the biggest impacts that we could make in this house is to consider color.
My boss and I tend to keep things very simple in a house. We put white on the walls, and all our houses have white on the walls.
White was not our friend in this case.
No, we wouldn't typically paint a residence white.
And this sort of off-white sand color brought it into a home environment and not an institutional environment.
It's balanced to me. We really strive to have a good mix of a warm, homey, inviting environment, but that it met the needs of autism at the same time. The organization, the structure, the design.
I think we were fascinated by how they challenged some of our notions and our normal way of thinking.
We would sit down and have a meeting, and Ben and David would bring out fabrics, and there was concern if something was too stimulating, or are there certain colors that are better.
This was a situation where we did have a different fabric selected, entered into a meeting, and were told that that would be probably just too much stimulus for the guys. So
there was a lot of thought put into each and every piece of the house. I remember a meeting where we spent 2 hours talking about the dimensions and the shape and the layout of the kitchen table.
It was originally going to be round, then it was going to be a rectangle, but we didn't have enough space, and then we went back to round, and then we ultimately settled on square.
Sometimes people with autism are very sensory defensive, so they don't enjoy it if somebody's bumping up to them or invading their space.
And the square seems to be working pretty well.
Square seems to work, but then what size square? And so it was ultimately determined that it is a
54-inch square. So this is Michael's room. Michael is the oldest consumer of the house. He got a very special floor. He has very special windows to prevent sound from coming into this room.
One of the men spends a lot of time pacing, so when we worked with the floor plan in his bedroom, we made sure there was an area long enough for him to be able to walk back and forth comfortably. That
room has a cork floor, and cork ended up being something that could really maybe handle somebody who was going to pace incessantly.
We put in bulletin boards, wipe-off boards, for each of the men in their bedrooms so that they can keep their daily schedule.
Do you like your room?
Yep.
You like the color of your room?
Yep.
Do you like your bed?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. That's what we wanted to hear.
Ben and David would make a suggestion of something. I'd say to them, that's not in our budget, and they would say, we don't want to hear about that.
We listed out, this is what we want, this is what we want, this is what we want. We went specifically to people and said, hey, can you help us with that item? And then great things happened.
Roy Hill Furniture Company donated these headboards to us, which really allowed for each of the consumers to personalize their area, allow them to do some storage and some really unique things on their own.
Through their connections in the design industry, got a lot of stuff donated that we would have either had to use lower quality things or do without.
We got posters, a surface board, a TV, a cable box. I got my radio.
It's the first time that Ben and I ever went to our clients and asked for money, and we got a huge response back, and we're very thankful and very appreciative of how the contributions came back.
What Ben and David essentially did was helped us turn this house into that warm, friendly home that we all want to live in.
It looks like there was a designer touch in this house. The decoration, the paintings on the walls, the artwork, the lighting, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
How do you like your room so far?
It was beautiful.
We met a father of one of the residents. He was just so appreciative of the concept that his child could possibly live in a beautiful environment.
Is this the nicest place you've lived in?
Yeah.
You like the rest of the house?
Yeah.
You know, they were comfortable, they were well cared for, they were, you know, where they needed to be and in the very best possible way.
I can't say enough about the help that Ben and David have provided. They took the time to learn autism, and they helped us create this beautiful place.